Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show. College football roundup heading into week 11 of the NFL season. We want to give you some great insight into what happened yesterday in the college football world and what you can do for your rankings, for your 2025 rookie drafts with the college players, as well as get a little knowledge going into the college football playoff that will be happening in, just about a month now. And so if we get into the college football rankings, which come out every Tuesday, so we had a little bit of action this last week with some of the top 12 teams losing yesterday. We had BYU losing, Tennessee losing. So there's going to be BYU was number 6, Tennessee was number 7. So there's going to be some movement. We'll see if anybody can sneak into that top 12 that do make the college football playoff. So if we take a look at the standings right now in the college football playoff, on the left here, we have the college football playoff rankings. And on the right is, of course, the AP poll. But the college football rankings poll is what's important here. The top 4 seeds go to the top 4 ranked conference champions. So as of right now, those would be Oregon, Texas, BYU, and Miami. So they would get the top 4 seeds in the playoff. Now, BYU lost, and they are in the Big 12. So the next best Big 12 team is, of course, the Deion Sanders-led Colorado Buffaloes. That's why I put Shadir on the thumbnail, because I watched that game, and I have to admit, I'm warming up to Shadir. He was a little more solid than I thought. He looks a little more polished than I thought. And so now this was it wasn't the first time I had watched him, but the first full game I watched of him this season. So I got a full eye on not only him, but Travis Hunter as well. Travis Hunter, of course, the cornerback / wide receiver. That's cornerback / wide receiver from Colorado. He is expected to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, as well as his teammate Shadir Sanders, looking good too for a top 5 pick. So we're going to maybe make some little adjustments to my college football rankings. You can get them anytime on my Patreon, patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Now it's $3 a month just for all of my rankings. Check it out. Help support the Birdhouse. And you can always ask me questions pertaining to your lineups or trades, whatever, at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. And be sure to check me out on Twitter at clemke007_FF, on X there as well. So let's get back into the rankings here. So we had on top the Oregon Ducks heading into Madison to take on the Wisconsin Badgers, and they struggled all game. The Badgers gave them a battle. Couldn't quite make things happen offensively, though, in the fourth quarter, and the Oregon Ducks prevailed. They were up. Questionable call there at the end. Play call there at the end. They were up 16-13 with 2 minutes to go. Had a chip shot field goal to make it a 2 field goal game, and they decided to run a fake field goal on 4th and 4 and only got 3 yards on it. So the Badgers took over, only needing a field goal to tie, and they couldn't even make it 2 plays without throwing an interception. So the Ducks prevailed, And I'm sure they'll sit on top of the standings at number 1, seeing as they're still undefeated. Ohio State did win. Texas beat Arkansas in a conference matchup. Penn State won. Indiana had off. So those top 5, the top 5 will remain the same, even though in the final rankings, the conference champions from the lesser conferences, meaning the Big 12 and ACC, will move up into the top 4 seeding wise. But the top 5 ranked teams, I think, will stay the same this week. Then you have both BYU and Tennessee losing here, right here. These two lost. Notre Dame won. Miami did not play. Then Alabama destroyed Mercer. Big deal. Ole Miss, I believe, won. I can't remember if they played or didn't. They didn't lose, put it that way. Georgia beat Tennessee. So we should see Georgia moving back up. I would assume that BYU and Tennessee would probably drop down to 11 and 12. And then we have the questions here. Boise State and SMU. SMU is in the ACC, so they are sitting on top of the SEC standings right now. ACC, that is. SMU is sitting on top of the ACC standings ahead of Miami, who has one loss. So they are in a collision course to meet in the ACC championship. Winner probably getting into the college football playoff, loser probably being out. And so that will be interesting there. So it kind of really doesn't matter where SMU is ranked, whether they finish before the conference championship game, before they get into the top 12 or not. As long as they win out and win that conference championship, they'll get in. And then they'll be one of the top 4 seeds. Texas A&M is the interesting one here. So they're 15th. They won this week, and they will be on the borderline, as in they'll be, it'll be hard to see if they'll actually move up, because I don't think they'll move Tennessee or BYU all the way down below them. But Texas A&M is tied with Texas atop the SEC standings with only one loss right now. And those two battle it out day after Thanksgiving for us to see who the regular season SEC champ would be and get the 1 seed in the SEC championship game. So if A&M can win out, they're going to get into the SEC championship game and likely get into the college football playoff then as well. So that was one interesting note to watch, along with Colorado here sitting at number 17. If they went out before the conference championship, they will be in the Big 12 championship, likely against BYU here. So one other school that has a shot there in the Big 12 would be Arizona State, ranked just, where were they? I guess they were unranked right now. I swear I thought they saw them ranked 19th or 20th. But anyway, Arizona State also sort of controls their own destiny in that if they win out, I believe they play, let me get a better look here. Where is Arizona State? Let me look up Arizona State here. Reason I'm bringing it up is because this is a school that could literally just throw things out of, yes, they play BYU next week. So that's why they control their own destiny. So BYU doesn't have an easy road just to get into their conference championship game. So things are getting very, very interesting here. Let me bring up the rankings again here. There we go. All right. So box scores, right? We want to see some box scores. Okay. Let me bring up the first big one from Saturday, and that was during the day we had there it is. We had South Carolina taking on Missouri. Let's bring that one up here. There we go. And the Gamecocks prevailed against the Tigers and pulled it out in the last minute here. Missouri took the lead with just over a minute to go. Gamecocks were able to move the ball down the field quickly in 2 plays and then score. And Rocket Sanders was the one that got the touchdown. He's one of my fast movers up the board here. Rocket Sanders, could bring him up. Raheem Sanders played at Arkansas his first 2 years, then transferred to South Carolina this third year. Again, he had been the top-ranked running back in this class, but now he's been moving up quickly, and he is in my top 25. Again, there's a mass amount of running backs in this 2025 class. Rocket Sanders is one of them, a legit SEC running back, built solid, 6 foot, 230. You'll see that from a lot of running backs in this class. Again, this is a running back class we've all been waiting for since 2017. This class should sort of take the torch from that class, I believe. This class is so loaded at running back. You want to get your hands on 1 or 2 of them if you aren't able to get on the top guy, Ashton Genty. Don't worry, because there are plenty of dudes in this class, sort of like 2017, right? If you weren't able to get Leonard Fournette or Christian McCaffrey, there were plenty of other options after them. Now, as you all know, Leonard Fournette sort of fizzled out. Definitely wasn't the top back in that class, even though he was drafted as such. Christian McCaffrey, I'd say, would easily be the top back. But you've got so many other guys, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, James Conner. I mean, I'm missing like 5 dudes, and I'm serious. This class was just insane, and it is still going strong to this day. And now, this offseason, though, we shall see the passing of the torch. Many of these guys will get drafted. I mean, this 2025 rookie class, many of these guys will get drafted into situations where they are sharing a backfield, and it will just come down to the coaching staffs and when they allow the young guy to take over. Let's head over to the box score in the Utah-Colorado-Buffalo game, and you can see there on the Utah side, Isaac Wilson. Yes, that is one Zach Wilson's younger brother, just a freshman, playing quarterback for the Utes. But we want to talk about the Colorado side here. Shedeur Sanders, 30 of 41 for 340, 3 touchdowns and a pick. You had Travis Hunter down there getting 5 for 55 through the air, but also adding a rushing touchdown on a 5-yard carry. So, what can I say? I'll bring up my rankings here, and we can make some adjustments as we need to. And that's the fun part about the college football offseason, is that we're still, 7 months away from the NFL draft. And so we've got plenty of time to change our minds on these guys, right? These aren't set in stone rankings that I've got going on. I can make these changes if I want. And so we will. And that's what we're here to do this week with you guys. So let's start right at the top. I've got Tet McMillan still sitting there at number 1, and he is not moving. I've liked Tet all the way. Reminds me of Mike Evans, maybe Drake London, that big body type receiver. He's got good speed for being a big guy. If you all remember Mike Evans, he was the 7th overall pick in that 2013 NFL draft, and that was loaded at wide receiver. This class now isn't so loaded at wide receiver. I would have Ted McMillan, Luther Burden, and probably Trey Harris from Ole Miss, who hasn't played much, along with Emeka Egbuka there from Ohio State as probably the top 4 wide receivers. I'm going to move and Travis Hunter. So there that would round out your top 5 wide receivers. I'm going to move Travis Hunter up the board, though, because I believe it looks like he is definitely going to be playing wide receiver in the NFL. Reports have come out how he knows the NFL system salary-wise and knows that he can basically make a lot more money playing wide receiver. So this is a guy in Travis Hunter who hasn't fully committed to the wide receiver position yet. So once he starts becoming a better route runner, dedicating more to the craft, I could see him developing into something special at the next level. It's just not something I want to buy into yet for a top 5 overall pick. So I'm going to slide him in. I'm going to slide him in right behind Marion Hampton at number 8. I'm going to move Travis Hunter up to here. There we go. That would, of course, move these others down. I'm going to keep these others in the same range. Quinshawn. These Ohio State dudes, man, I'm telling you, they just keep shoving them out into the NFL. And I am going to change the tier also, because I believe that Cam Ward has done enough now to solidify himself in this second tier, which is basically just a more reliable asset for you all with your dynasty picks. So we're going to make this tier 3. There we go. We'll space in there to sort of separate it for you guys. There we go. Now, what I do want to do is change up Shadir Sanders and Carson Beck. So we're going to move Shadir up ahead. Put Carson Beck down here. It's not that Carson Beck had a bad week. They defeated Tennessee, like I said, and he's been solid. Just he's not spectacular. Talking with one of my co-owners, we see Carson Beck's ceiling as like a Matt Ryan type. But of course, a floor for quarterbacks, it's just not quite as good. Now, Luther Burden had a big game, but I'm going to swap him with Ashton Genty. The Ashton Genty hype has just gotten out of control at this point. Boise State is just hanging there around 12, 13 in the polls. And I just love the guy. The trouble with Ashton Genty, of course, is that he's a running back. And so I still just value a wide receiver such as Ted McMillan. In the position, I just value higher. So I'd be looking to take Ted ahead of Ashton Genty still. There we go. Luther Burden has had an off season, but the talent is still there. The route running is amazing. And I guess, you can't fault the guy for not having a pro level quarterback that's able to, get him the rock like he needs to. Luther Burden is sort of a Jalen Waddle, JSN type receiver for Missouri. And so in the SEC, he's faced tougher coverage than Ted McMillan. So maybe that's part of the reason why the numbers aren't there. Luther Burden, though, he had a big touchdown catch at the end there right before South Carolina came back down and won the game against Missouri. So that's where I'm putting Luther Burden right now. Shout out to me in the chat if you disagree. That's fine. We've got plenty of months to argue about it. But for now, that's where I'm putting the dude. Okay. So moving on back down here, you can see we moved Cam Ward back up into tier 3. We've got Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson there as running backs. What are they? 3 and 4 behind Omarion Hampton. And of course, Ashton Genty up top. I do want to move another running back. I don't even know if I had him in here. Yeah, I got to move him up. Okay. So Dylan Sampson from Tennessee has over 20 touchdowns on the season. Let's bring Dylan Sampson up here. So Tennessee, again, they lost to Georgia. I just, for whatever reason, had ignored him with his big numbers. But this dude is built. Let's go over to here we go. Here's the Tennessee. Let me get it back up for you guys. There we go. Okay, so here's the Tennessee-Georgia box score. So you can see Dylan Sampson, 19 for 101 and a touchdown, 3 for 16 through the air. Let's bring old Dylan up for you guys. Here we go. Dylan's got 21 touchdowns on 1,230 yards rushing on the season so far. This guy's built as well, 5'11", 201. So he's shifty, got a nose for the end zone. I'm going to get him into the rankings now. Let's see here. We will replace Ollie Gordon, who has just been a massive disappointment this year. Doesn't mean he can't play in the NFL, but does mean that I can move him down the board. There we go. Got him. We'll slide Ollie Gordon in at the bottom, just so we don't forget about him. That's the thing. Just because a guy has a bad week or two doesn't mean that they can't play in the NFL. And Ollie Gordon definitely will be someone who gets drafted still, and we don't want to forget about him completely. There we go. All right. But we are moving him down nonetheless. Okay. Rocket Sanders, definitely somebody I want to move up. So let's find where we can slide Rocket in. I want to move him. I'm going to put him right in behind Nick Singleton, the running back from Penn State. There we go. Now, I'm not doing this just because this guy has a cool name. Kind of, but not completely. All right. You know, Tank Bigsby had a cool name, and he fizzled out his rookie season, but this year he came back strong. He's put in a couple of good weeks for us at the running back position. Those of you who have him know what I mean. If you're running a true hero or zero running back operation with your teams, you may very well have used Tank Bigsby this year and gotten use of his couple good weeks that he's had. Okay, there we go. Garrett Nussmeier. I think we can take Garrett Nussmeier out of the fold here. Yeah. LSU had another rough week this week, losing to Florida. Nussmeier is just showing some chinks in the armor there. Tyler Warren, we don't want to forget about. He is monster tight end for Penn State. There's another tight end I want to bring up to you. He's from Bowling Green. Let me go look at Draft Buzz here. Draft Buzz is a great site to check out if you want updates on your college football players for the 2025 draft. They actually have this tight end Harold Fannin from Bowling Green as the top rated tight end right now. I'm going to throw him on the bottom of this list just to make sure we don't forget about this guy. I got to watch some film on him before I actually move him up at all in these rankings. But nonetheless, I think it's good to have a solid 3 tight ends in the ranks. So there we have Fannin, Tyler Warren, and of course, Colston Loveland, my tight end 1 in the 2025 draft. He's up in tier 4. So he'd be somebody you could look at in the mid-second round right now. As far as tier 3 goes, we still have Isaiah Bond from Texas, the speed demon, Trey Harris, the big wide receiver from Ole Miss. I really like that kid. I want to see how he tests at the combine. He will definitely move up the ranks with a good combine. Quinn Ewers from Texas, we're going to keep him there at tier 3. He's just somebody who I see as like a solid backup. To me, he's like a Kenny Pickett type who may get drafted into the right situation where he gets to start right away, but otherwise I see him as like a career backup quarterback. Evan Stewart from Oregon continues to show decent stuff this week against Wisconsin. And then, of course, we can move into tier 4 with Dylan Sampson. So any questions out there, feel free to ask. You can remind me of some guys that I may have missed or that you feel should be moved up in the rankings here. Just double checking that I haven't forgotten anybody that I wanted to switch around. No. Let me just don't want to move Garrett Nussmeier completely out because I know he hasn't looked good the last couple of weeks, but again, we don't want to just drop somebody because of 2 bad weeks. There we go. All right. So we're going to save these rankings for you. There we go. We've got our update now. Now, mind you, I still have my boy Jalen Milroe up there at number 3, head of Shadir Sanders. Reason being, simply put, here, let me get you back to my rankings. Jeez. I had Dylan Sampson up there long enough. You guys are going to fall in love with him now. I'm not going to get him in any leagues. Okay, so again, top tier, we got Ted McMillan, Ash Genti, Jalen Milroe, Shadir Sanders, and Luther Burden. Now, Jalen Milroe isn't somebody I expect to be drafted as the top quarterback, but I do believe in his talents and skill set that he can be the top quarterback in this class fantasy-wise, because that's what we're looking for. It's fantasy production, right? He has the best rushing ability of any of these guys in this class. So that is why I have him up there at number 3, and I'm holding to it. Luther Burden there still at number 5. Tier 2, Carson Beck, Omarion Hampton, Travis Hunter, Mecca Buka, the other 2 Ohio State guys, Judkins and Henderson, and then Cam Ward at number 12. Tier 3, we've got some wide receivers, Isaiah Bond, Trey Harris, Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas, and Evan Stewart from Oregon. Then we go to tier 4. We just slid in Dylan Sampson. We've got Colston Loveland, Nick Singleton, and Rocket Sanders from South Carolina. In tier 5, we've got a few wide receivers here you can expect to get at the back end of round 2. That's Kyron Lacey, Tez Johnson, and Nick Anderson. None of these guys are big bodies. They're good route runners with wheels. And then tier 6, you're getting into the round 3 of our rookie drafts. These are guys who are going to be more projects. And Jackson Dart, Dylan Gabriel, the Heisman candidate from Oregon, struggled this week. Xavier Henderson, wide receiver from Cincinnati. Caleb Johnson, running back at Iowa. Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. Both have solid running back builds. Do want to bring up a couple other running backs quickly before we head out today. There's Jordan James from Oregon. I should put him in before I finish this off. Let's put Jordan James in the mix here. Jordan James was in the shadow of Bucky Irving last year, and he has shown enough this year. He's got a great running back build. Before I go, I want to show you Jordan James quickly. So let's get out of here and go over to, yes, there was Dylan Sampson, but let's look up Jordan James quickly. There we go, 5'10", 210, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns for the top-ranked Ducks. This guy can do it all. There's a lot of workhorse-style backs in this draft, and so Jordan James, definitely somebody you want on your radar before the draft starts, okay? There's a couple other dudes that Draft Buzz has higher than what I have, and that's Brashard Smith from the SMU and Kalel Mullings from Michigan. So keep your eye out for those two. They may soon enter my rankings, but we're going to watch them next week, see how they do, and possibly they will get moved up into the rankings. So let's see here. I'm just going to get this saved for you. There we go. All right. Now we're all set there. Okay. Rankings are all set for you. So again, feel free to check out my rankings on patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. They are updated weekly as the season goes on in the college football landscape. And check that out for $3 a month on my Patreon. And you can check me out on buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. We just got to the 10:30 mark here, Central Standard Time, which means those early game injuries will be coming out now for the next 10 to 20 minutes. We'll see who our guys are that we got to bench in the NFL. Again, just drop me a line on buymeacoffee.com. If you've got any other start-sit decisions now because of any injuries, I'll be here waiting. Thank you for joining today in the Birdhouse. It's been a blast. Be sure to continue to watch college football games, some bigger games coming up in the next 2 weeks. You don't want to miss out on the action, and it's always easier, trust me, it's always easier drafting guys when you've watched them play a little. So to get a good idea of what these guys have done in college football is much more helpful for you come draft time, because then you feel more confident in your selections, and that helps you maneuver around the board. If you know that you like a guy in the 3rd round, then you're sitting on a late 2nd round pick, then you can drop down, get your guy in the 3rd round, stuff like that. So it makes you much more flexible by knowing stuff about these guys before draft season rather than waiting till later. And then all you're watching is a highlight reel. Highlight reels are nice, but everybody's got a highlight reel. You want to see how these guys are performing every down. Are they in there on 3rd down doing the pass blocking? The running backs are huge this year in the draft, so you want to get a good idea of how solid of players these running backs are. All right, so thanks again for joining. It's been a wild weekend so far. Now we'll see what happens in the NFL today. That's all for the Birdhouse.